This is a major thing, a major habit that I'm trying to teach is to people to go back to center. I call this, when you're outside in the ego-based consciousness, you're on fire, right? Your body, soul, and mind are on fire. So I say stop, drop, and then roll back into center. How can we incorporate a habit into something that substantially charged with emotion?
It's a great question. So one thing I've noticed as I've kind of studied habits a little bit more is you can sort of divide them into different buckets. So you've got some habits that I would call like habits of action, like doing a push-up or eating a cookie. But then we've got a different category which we could call like habits of thought, like ruminating, overthinking, worry, anger, things like that. And habits of thought tend to be much more emotional, and they're so rapid. I mean, how do you even identify when you're about to have a thought? Like you can't even, it's so granular that you like can't even get in there.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I think they're more difficult to change than habits of action are. So that's the first thing, is like, I think we're talking about something that's very challenging to do. However, it does happen sometimes, and what I notice is that when it happens, it tends to be when people reframe or learn a new narrative. So here's an example. You wake up in the morning and you go into your kitchen and you see a loaf of bread and you're like, oh, I should make some toast. So that's a thought that you have, right? It happens right away. You see the loaf of bread and you're like, oh, I'll make toast. So you go ahead and do that. Then let's say a couple weeks later, you read a book that convinces you that carbs are the devil and grain is bad for you and whatever. Well, now you walk downstairs in the morning and you see the same loaf of bread, but suddenly the narrative in your mind has changed. That thought arises, but instead of the thought thinking I should make toast, you think, oh, it's bad for me, I should throw that out.
Right, it's kryptonite.
So, right. And so the question is, how can you get more of those mindset shifts in whatever the area is that we're trying to get to? So I've seen it happen. Sometimes I just gave an example of like you read a diet book, maybe that would do it for that particular example. So reading could possibly do it. Another one that people I've seen do is when they take on a very strong new identity. So for example, let's say someone is not religious and then they join a religion where they're not allowed to eat meat or not allowed to eat pork or something. Well, now suddenly they identify as, I'm the person who doesn't eat meat, right? And so they walk into maybe the same restaurant they've always gone into, and they used to order a pork sandwich, but now they're like, oh, I don't want that at all. So sometimes a really strong identity shift can do it, can drive this kind of like a change in your habits of thought. And so those are the only two ways I've seen it so far. But the third and final thing I'll add is I had this little shift for me when I thought about, so I'm not good at practicing meditation, but I had this shift, this mindset shift when I realized I used to think, okay, return to your breath, and then like when your thoughts stray, like, oh, okay, you gotta bring it back to your breath or whatever. And anytime that my thought would stray, I thought, oh, I'm doing it wrong, or like I'm failing at meditation. But instead, the mindset shift is, no, actually, that is meditation, is the practice of bringing it back. It's when it strays and then you bring it back, that's like completing a whole rep. Imagine you're doing like a bicep curl. So the thought straying is just you letting your arm down. That's only half of it. And then like bringing it back is curling your arm back up. And you actually need both to perform the action.
Do you ever feel like your frequency gets knocked off at like a series of unfortunate events that you couldn't really handle, like throughout your day? Do you kind of get frazzled, and like does meditation help bring you back to that frequency to reset?
Yeah, so what happens, that's ego, right? So what I am with my frequency, I'm projecting at a direct trajectory to my potential of what I want to be, determinative upon, like right now for the last hour, I want to be the best teacher that I can be, coach. And so if I'm on that trajectory, one of the awarenesses in life, and I believe that awareness is a skill, so I want to make sure that I'm aware of certain things. So, if I want to have awareness to when I'm not on that trajectory, or awareness to when I'm thinking with my ego, so fear, anxiety, shortages, voids, obstacles, need to be right, need to be offended, if I feel guilty, these are all things I want to be aware of.
Right.
Because these are all things through the experiences I've had that when I don't address that first and go back to center, to the peaceful place, that I'm not going to make good decisions. I'm going to create resistance. I actually think that I'm putting faith into what I don't want. If I feel guilty, I'm putting faith into what I don't want. If I feel scared, I'm putting faith into what I don't want. If I feel offended, I'm putting faith into what I don't want. And That's why I meditate. It's just a practice, it's a skill. So it's how quickly can I get rid of the guilt, get rid of the offense. In other words, how quickly can I go back to center in the flow, in peace, where I can be most productive and accessible to others and access what I want. Here's the problem with also when you become high vibrating, self-actualizing, here's the danger, why people fall so fast, is if you're not doing this and you're like living a lazy life high on your mom's couch, you could be way off trajectory, but you're moving so slow. You can't really see an effect until you're like 60 years old and you're like, dude, why am I broke? Never had kids, never had it, why am I unhappy? And you're like 60. And this happens to tons of people. But when you're living like I live, you gotta be really careful. Because just like a car, you go 5 miles an hour in a car, turn that car as hard as you want, is not gonna be a problem. I promise you, not a problem at all. What if you go 170 and you just turn a little bit, right? 200. What if you're at 2,000 miles an hour and you quickly go, right? Guilt, resentment, offense, anxiety, fear, right? That's what happens. People that are living those fast vibrating life and they wonder why they don't gotta wait till 60, right? They're in rehab at 21. Right? They're in jail, they're dead. That's why suicide's so rampant right now. People they're vibrating, they go a little bit off tip, they're like, oh, my life's over. No. All you have to do is go back to center. Go back to center. My whole life is spent now seeing how quickly I can go back to center. I was watching your drills and it reminded me of the martial arts where they have the sensei in the middle and there's 12 people all around him. And I know you guys had the circle to hit. Well, have you ever seen them attack? And it's amazing how the guy it's almost like he sees behind. And so I asked that martial arts expert, I'm like, how do you do it? How do you react to that many people all at once? And some of you may run businesses or work for businesses and feel like you're being attacked by 12 different people at one time. The interesting answer that he gave me was, I'm not reacting at all. What you see is the goal of life, and to me, the goal of decision making is what I do better than anyone is I get back to center. I'm not reacting. I take this one on, I get back to center. I take this one on, I get back to center. Instead of this one to this one to this one, this gets exhausting, out of focus. What happens is void shortages and obstacles in your life, when you're on a direct trajectory at what you want, your purpose, your passion, your profitability, which are the things that I want, when my ego gets in the way, my trajectory changes. And this delta that comes between the trajectory of what I want and where I'm at are void shortages and obstacles. And I'll get to the faith part last. But when we start putting faith in what we don't want, we get more of what we don't want. And I see so many business people and relationships just deteriorate because they're putting faith in the wrong things because they just can't get back to center. So the first thing that we want to do is raise our awareness of our ego, be at center, and feel the answer. The key to ego is one word: awareness. See, once you're aware that you're living in ego, you can correct it, both mentally and physically. And you can continually work at that and get better and better at that and get out of your own way and not block your energy as much, etc., which also will contribute to the frequency that you're at. Now, frequency is not only a level of vibration, which also involves awareness, because we can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than us. But frequency has a reach, it has a strength of signal. I use a radio type of signal. So here's how I see the universe. There's a big satellite up here full of inspiration and emotion. It's full of everything, more than enough. And then how well do I receive it? That's the first, I start here. How well am I receiving and accessing what I want? Inspired, right? Because that's gonna keep my battery charged. Then it's okay, I add to that frequency. So this comes in, how much can I understand? Like how wide is my channels on my radio? How far, right? All of that. And then I take as much in as I can. And then frequency is what level of vibration, which is how many channels can I hit for other people's radios out here, right? How am I touching you with that inspiration or emotion? And then how far will it reach? Does it reach to India? Does it reach to China? And then with what strength? That's the difference between what I say and how I say it. What strength is it coming through? Is it like bam? Or is it like, thank you? So that's the whole technology that I believe exists. And so I talk about productivity and accessibility. Accessibility is how well am I accessing everything and more than enough? And then how is that frequency going out? What range does it have? What strength does it have? And what frequency? All of that is frequency, the channels that I reach. So if you're 101.5, 101.7, 101.9, can all of you, is it resonating with all of you? Can you feel me? And emotions is how we communicate, right? That's how we're truly communicating. Then comes the logic, which is we give meaning to everything we see, the illusions that we put on it. That's when the ego starts getting into the way because they say, oh, hold on. I'm afraid. There's a fear of loss. It's too much, too little, not good, good. All the judgments and conditions that just slow us down from being the true receiver and givers that we are.